Hey everybody, it's Talan, and I'm back with the second episode of Talan Talk. Now, you see the title of the show. It's gonna be weird and wonky and wacky. So before that, let's go ahead and go over the ground rules once again in case this is your first episode or in case you forgot since last time. Feel free to put me on in the background as a little bit podcast style kind of thing while you go about your daily life. Or if you want to watch something while you hear me blather on, feel free to watch the show. So I want to start all of this off by saying I do love Yu-Gi-Oh! It is one of my favorite hobbies. It's my longest standing hobby aside from just general gaming or being a nerd. But without a shadow of a doubt, I can say that I absolutely hate the competitive meta of Yu-Gi-Oh! What do I mean by that? Well, when you think meta, what pops in your head? For me, it's just the best strategies you can use in a game or in a format of a multiplayer game to win, right? The best tactics to give you the highest chance of victory. That is, by definition, what a meta is. That being said, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta is probably some of the most toxic gameplay I have ever witnessed at this pure core. I have dealt with toxic communities. I've played League of Legends. I played League of Legends, and I had played it semi-hardcore back in the day. Not really. I didn't really get high or far. It's just something I was really into. I've dealt with Magic the Gathering players who would rather flip the table, tear cards, and just be overall assholes instead of just take the loss. So I understand toxicity. I really do. But Yu-Gi-Oh! As a game, Yu-Gi-Oh! As a meta is extremely toxic. Even if the players are some of the nicest or a bare minimum apathetic individuals there are, Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself is toxic at its core. You have decks, such as the one I'm playing against right now, Labyrinth, that enjoy just bullying people. They shut down the game. In any other game, this could be considered awful toxic behavior, but in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's considered the bare minimum. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's an accepted strategy to just keep your opponent from playing the game, making it to where they watch you combo off for 15-20 minutes and not do anything about it except forfeit. In Yu-Gi-Oh! A very common phrase you'll hear is just draw the out, play through it, get good. And people say that unironically. Because in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a mix of a small mix of chance and who has the most money. To put that in perspective, at the most recent Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship, YCS Anaheim, which as of today's recording happened about 10 days ago, there in the top 32 decks, 14 of which, almost half of the decks, were a new archetype called Ryzeal. And oh wow, this guy forfeited for some reason. Okay, interesting. The most popular deck and the best deck, the one that won the whole thing, was Ryzeal, an archetype that came out several days, about 3 days before that tournament happened. That's like going into League, choosing a new champion before a tournament starts, picking it up and just winning the entire thing. In fact, to kind of give you a bit more of an insight into this, looking at the deck list that the winner of Anaheim used, if you want to buy that deck right now, you behind the screen right now wanted to buy that deck and get into competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! At the best possible level, you would be spending $1,500 1,500 USD to get this deck to compete. Not necessarily win, but compete. And I think we can all see how that's an issue. I shouldn't have to give up a house payment, rent, utilities, whatever, just to be able to compete in a game with cardboard. What makes it even worse is that even if you were to do this, spend the money on the best possible deck currently, in about 6 months to a year, that deck will be nerfed. Cards will be banned. New cards will be released that power creep those cards. And suddenly, it's not the best deck anymore. Suddenly, something else is the best deck. All those thousands of dollars you spent, hundreds of hours learning how to play it, just don't matter anymore. And again, we can probably all see how that's an issue. If I'm going to spend money on a hobby, I want it to be optional to spend money on a hobby. I want it to be, I spend the money because I want to collect the cards. I want it because I enjoy this hobby, not because, oh, I think I'm going competitive. I'm going to pull up this list of 10 near identical decks and choose one to play. And quite honestly, if you wanted to cut the video right here, that is the biggest issue with Yu-Gi-Oh! It's expensive. Some of you may be thinking, oh, Talon, that's fine. I have no problem spending the money on that. You know, it's a bit much, but I like this hobby and I can invest in it. Surely if I go to these tournaments, I can make this money back, no issue. Not really, no. Keep in mind the YCS happens once a year, and whatever qualifiers or local tournaments you go to, we're not going to count those, right? Let's say you spend the $1,500 on this Ryzeal deck, the best of the best, whatever, right? The prize for winning the Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship was a Nintendo Switch. Just envision that for a second. The prize for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship, you are at the top level of your hobby, right? That's like, again, League of Legends going to LCS, going to the, if you play World of Warcraft, going to the championship every year. You are at the top level of your play. You're one of the best players in the game. Spend all this money, hundreds of hours playing, dozens of games in this very tournament itself, and you get a Nintendo Switch. That is such an insult. It's gotten to the point where it seems like Konami hate their player base. They don't care. They do not care. They will print money. They will steal your income for these shiny pieces of cardboard. And nothing can compare to the insult I feel that I don't even play competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! And I feel insulted. Looking at other games like Pokemon, Lorcana, the One Piece card game, they have a lower barrier to entry. You're still spending some money, don't get me wrong, but compared to like the $1,500 Yu-Gi-Oh! Has right now, which is not even the first time it's been like this. You might think it's a one-off occurrence. It's not. Just this year alone, Snake Eyes, which was the deck, it was so oppressive and so good that it spawned like 6 different variants. And you basically had to play that deck if you want to play competitively. That was about $1,000 at the height of its power. And look, here we are now. It didn't even last a full year before it's gotten nerfed by ban lists, and it is basically replaced already. But as I was saying, other card games, again, Lorcana, Pokemon, what have you, you might spend like $200, which is still a lot for cardboard, don't get me wrong. But not only is it leagues better than spending money on Yu-Gi-Oh! $1,500+ to maybe win and get a Nintendo Switch, you are still absolutely just you can still win a lot more money with Lorcana, One Piece, Digimon. Pokemon had a $25,000 prize for the first place. $25,000 for first place. You can do the math yourself. You're not stupid. I'm not trying to insult your intelligence, but keep belaboring the point. This is a problem. This is an issue. But the biggest absolute issue here, I think, is that not every archetype is created equally. Konami, to give just a morsel of credit to them, Konami is very good at making nostalgia bait. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a lot of cards or archetypes that are popular. Blue Eyes White Dragon, Dark Magician, Red Eyes Black Dragon. These are a lot from the original anime and such. This is nostalgia bait. They would make archetypes that are made to bring back or maintain player base. But that doesn't mean they're good. A good example, and I've brought this up many times, is the Flame Swordsman archetype. That archetype was nostalgia bait. It was made for an older generation, possibly get new people in. But it wasn't good. It was cool. It was thematic. But it was in no way, shape, or form competitive. Especially compared to Snake Eyes, which had been out several months at that point at full power. Just because Snake Eyes had more curl, had more support, and it was just better, just point blank better than every other archetype available. But again, as I said, it's been nerfed to the ground. Yubel, another nostalgia archetype that actually turned out good, really good, was also nerfed into the ground. It's insane, is what it is. I feel like I've done nothing but complain for about the last 10 minutes or so, and I do apologize for that, but this topic does get me kind of heated, just because I shouldn't have to jump through so many hoops to enjoy my hobby. Because keep in mind, unlike, again, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, what have you, which has somewhat skill-based matchmaking, Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't have that. Even here in Master Duel, which is a very, very loose comparison to the trading card game, even at lower ranks, you still see people with the same meta decks just tearing up your ass because they want to win. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to win. I'll be the first to admit that. There's nothing wrong with it. But wanting to win in a multiplayer game shouldn't entail just making it so your opponent can't play the game. Right? There have been so many times in Yu-Gi-Oh's meta where you, as the opponent, if you don't go first, you lose. If you don't go first, your opponent will set up a board that absolutely makes it to where you cannot win. It's effectively playing solitaire, and that's not fun. My biggest opinion about this is that if I'm playing a game, I want to have fun. And my version of having fun is making it so my opponent also enjoys playing against me, right? Win or lose, I want both of us to have fun. But a lot of the time, you just don't get that with Yu-Gi-Oh! You're playing solitaire. You're watching your opponent pick up and put down cards for 10, 15 minutes straight, only to find out, oh, I guess I just lose. And again, in any other game, keeping your opponent from playing the game would be considered toxic. It would be considered bad manners. But in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's a perfectly viable strategy. And I hate that. Now, I'm not expecting to go into my local game store and just absolutely stomp with whatever meme or gimmick deck that I play. That's not how it should work. It should be a, well, skill-based thing, right? If I'm going to win with my meme deck, it should be through hard work, knowing how to play the game, knowing my deck's ins and outs like the back of my hand, and just outplaying my opponent. It shouldn't be, oh, their cards are better, so they automatically win. Or, oh, they had a bigger wallet, so I just automatically lose. Now, for the most part, it's not necessarily Konami's fault that Yu-Gi-Oh! Costs so much. And technically that's a lie right there. Let me explain. Konami, when they release archetypes, they obviously have favorites, right? When a new archetype is released in a pack alongside other archetypes, you can usually tell right off the bat which ones are more fun or gimmick deck related, and which ones are going to be meta problems. Snake Eyes, Horus, Centurion, these all ring a bell, Ryzeal, these are all problems. You can tell right off the bat which ones are favorites, right? Konami has a very bad habit of locking specific tools of an archetype behind rarity, right? Because when you open up a Yu-Gi-Oh pack, you have a certain chance of getting certain rarities. Konami has a bad habit of doing that to certain archetypes, like their key combo pieces are higher rarity, or the archetype they release is all locked behind a high rarity, so you have to spend money to buy those cards, and those cards are rarer, so they're typically more expensive in the secondary market. That's their problem with this. However, the one part Konami doesn't necessarily have a part in is that they allow Yu-Gi-Oh! To be an investment engine, and it shouldn't be. People think, oh, these cards are super rare and they're super meta relevant. I'm just gonna sell them for $200 each. Again, Konami doesn't necessarily have a hand in that, but it's still their problem to begin with. It's just very awkward, let's say. Not fun in the slightest. And I think the biggest thing we can do to fix this is to make every archetype released comparable, right? They don't have to be on the exact same level, because I don't think that's necessarily possible to make every deck release on the exact same level. But then again, I don't work at Konami, so I have no idea. But I can say that it should be possible to make an archetype, again, comparable to every other archetype that releases with it, right? I should be able to pick up a deck and go toe-to-toe with other things. And go toe-to-toe with other archetypes, like Snake Eyes. It's never going to happen, but it would be nice, right? Instead, I'm stuck with trying to find the best out of the meme decks that I like and playing those. At the end of the day, if you enjoy Yu-Gi-Oh, play it, but don't play competitive. It's not fun. It's probably one of the worst things you can do, in all honesty. I think you should just play the game to play the game and have fun. But people inherently can't do that with Yu-Gi-Oh! The meta. Even if you go to your local game store, you're going to find people playing the best decks they have access to, spending a lot of money, and just making it to where they win constantly. Whether that's locking their opponent out of the game, or making it to where you just dread sitting down across from them, they're going to do it, and it's probably the worst thing I've ever seen. I think, and again, keep in mind, this entire rant is just my opinion, because I was asked what my opinion was on the meta. I think the Yu-Gi-Oh! Meta is probably the most toxic thing I have ever dealt with. It could be worse. Yeah, it can most certainly be worse. But it's hard to tell how much worse it can get, you know? I shouldn't have to jump through so many hoops. I shouldn't have to just lose my mind trying to find the fun in this game anymore. Will I keep playing it? Yeah, but you're never going to see me going to a tournament unless I, again, just play some random bullshit. That's the best thing you can do. Find your fun in this game. And I really do hope it's not at the expense of your opponent. They don't deserve that. Nobody deserves that, you know? Oh, now that I drew this Ash Blossom, that's another thing I should probably complain about. I really hate how I have to play certain cards to even have a chance in this game, because so many cards nowadays are just, hey, play this card or just suffer. Because most of my deck now is no longer, oh, I can just play this archetype that I like. No, I have to play this archetype that I like, as well as half my deck has to be answers to my opponent's deck. It shouldn't be that way. That's not fun. At least not to me. But then again, if I was working for Konami, it would most likely be a very, very different game. Like if I had the decision-making power. I don't, so it's not. At the end of the day, I really hope you can take my words with a grain of salt, but also see the value in them, right? It's not saying much. It's not. But I love this game. I wish it would get better, at least in my lifetime. We'll see. For now, this level of play I like. Yeah, it's turn 3, and that's still pretty fast comparatively. But I can at the very least enjoy this game. I enjoy playing against very unique gameplay. I like unique decks. I just want to have fun. That's my Goblin Biker. Those effects are negated at the very least, so that's nice. I think the best thing I can do is I can just make Crazy Beast. Just do that. You know, this is kind of the outro, I guess you could say, like towards the end of the video. This is like the fucking 4th or 5th try for this because I kept losing my train of thought. I didn't quite know how to frame this conversation. Even though it's not really a conversation, it's more me just talking to myself. I think I struck a good balance here, but man, has this been a journey today. But at the end of the day, what I want to do with these Talan Talks was just kind of get my thoughts get my ideas in order and kind of speak about them as we go. You know? And maybe somewhere along the line, my opinion, you know, people agree with it. Who knows? See, this back and forth, I like it. It's not inherently tipped one way or the other. It seems fair and balanced. But you don't see that nowadays. You really don't. In Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just, what's the fastest way for me to win with the least amount of interaction from my opponent? And to compensate, me as the opponent, I have to include cards or buy cards that are counters. I hate that. I feel like I'm just keep rambling and saying the same thing, but it gets the point across, I think. Now, it doesn't look like this guy has anything else I need to worry about as a... But, just in case, got this. I will always look at this game with nostalgia. I really will. It's a fun game at the end of the day, and I just enjoy playing it. Am I the best at it? No. But there should be no skill requirement for enjoyment, you know? And I think I missed out on lethal there. Kinda? Ish? Alright, then I'm going to Zeus. At the very least, you can say that there are plenty of like meta cards, like Zeus is meta, Ash Blossom's meta. All these cards at least give non-meta decks a chance to do something. It sucks I have to rely on it. Like, this is a very powerful effect. Zeus just wipe the field essentially for free. I hate to have to rely on it, but it happens. It works. It does things. At the end of the day, even if there's a skill gap, even if there is a necessity to using certain cards, it should still be even. I probably did that in the wrong order, but it is what it is. I probably still lose. Like I said, I'm not the... Yes, Monster Reborn. All right, Damon Ubel. Good play. He was probably just waiting for me to rip that Zeus. I probably should have waited, but like I said, I'm probably not the best, and my head's kind of frazzled after the ranting I just did. If you yourself want to hear me rant about a topic and not really get anywhere with my opinion, feel free to message me or leave a comment on this YouTube video. Speaking of which, I suppose I should do my normal shilling, or the expected shilling. If you like this video, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help out the YouTube algorithm. Oh yes, YouTube daddy, yes, pay attention to me. Ugh. Ah well, at the end of the day, I'll probably still be doing this no matter what my viewer retention is on YouTube. You know what? This guy has it. I messed up. It's fine. GG, Demon Ubel. If at some point you see this in the future, good game, buddy. Maybe I could have won, maybe not, but yeah, it's fine. Well, everybody, I think I took up enough of your time. It's about a half hour. I do appreciate y'all stopping by. I appreciate y'all listening to me rant. I hope I at least got my idea across in a nonsensical manner. And I really hope you enjoyed it. So, I hope y'all have a fantastic rest of your week. And I'll see you again later. Feel free to check out my other videos. Feel free to check out my Twitch channel, usually Talan Gaming. But otherwise, have a good rest of your day, yeah?